Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Nothing wrong with your podcast player. Do not attempt to adjust the volume. Hello and welcome to Studio 2009. I'm, of course, TFG and Mike. And for our latest Gamer Origins, today I welcome a GCRN stalwart, someone who hasn't been with us in a while because, I don't know, he's too busy, eating popcorn off movie theater floors every year, watching movie 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 12, 47 of whichever year it is. He is one of, as you can hear him cackling in the background, he is one of the co-hosts of Off the Cuff. He is someone who actually, I don't know if it was the first thing you and I did together, but I went back to July 31st of 2013 to re-listen to your comic reading origins. But now, Art Danner, the gamer, the movie fan, he is here. And what is the deal with X-51 the Machine Man? Where did that name come from? What's the story behind that?
So X-51 the Machine Man is actually a reference to Marvel Comics, which would be a character called X-51 the Machine Man, which also happens to be my PlayStation gamer tag.
There you go.
So bringing it right back around to this whole Gamer Origins thing.
Absolutely. Now, my lovely lady, the Chaos Queen, will say this is a stupid question and it makes no sense. She pointed it out to me when we did it for her Origins, and I'm like, yes, it does, because not everyone has the same entry point that everyone else does. Question 1, did you grow up playing video games, and at what age do you first remember noticing, and what were some of your earliest video game memories?
So, yes, I very much grew up playing games. My first interaction and my first experience with gaming was my dad brought home an Atari 2600 and hooked it up to the tube TV, and my introduction into gaming was essentially joystick Atari with C-Bert and Centipede were literally my first two games into gaming, and it was pretty much hooked from there. And then deep into the well of gaming, I went from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you and I have a similar origin with that, because my mom brought home the 2600, and Barnstormers and Q*bert were the two that I used. And I'm going to say this now, me personally, folks, this is my personal opinion. This is TFU and Mike here speaking. I want everyone to listen to the sound of my voice. I'm not saying this is a GCRN opinion. I'm not trying to start a scrappy do argument about games or anything like that. 2600 superior, 7800 screw off.
I can back that up. I'll back that. But yeah, I was like, that was my dad was really big into. My dad's always been one of those guys that he was like really into technology, and he was kind of the one who they kind of introduced it into the house, and then unfortunately he kept on feeding it. And for me, it didn't help with the friend group that I grew up with, that I was like super into gaming from a very young start.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So what video games were you playing the most as a kid overall? Were you an Atari gamer, NES gamer, Sega gamer, or some other game system type of gamer?
So I pretty much grew up as, I really got into the NES eventually. But the Super Nintendo was kind of like, that was the system where I'd have the fondest of memories. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Mega Man X were like two of my favorite games. For some reason, I also had the Super Nintendo Jurassic Park game, which I love to hate play because that game really wasn't great, but for some reason I enjoyed playing it because of how stupidly ridiculous it was and just difficult to play. Well, it's one of those, like, it started out as like a top down, and then when you go into buildings, it goes into first person mode.
Yep.
Like, it was just had this real bizarre mix of kind of camera angles and different genre play in the same game, which I enjoyed. I did play a ton of, Super Mario Brothers on the first Nintendo.
Yep.
Love that game. I also put way too much time into Battletoads, which is another one of those insanely frustrating games to play, along with another insanely frustrating game to play, which would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, to this day, like, years in the last year and a half, that one damn jump in the damn level that you always fall through, and then you learn that you could have just walked across it. And I think I learned that in like a gaming tutorial online within like the last year and a half, and it still hurt just knowing that I could have just walked across it the entire time, which made me hate the game even more. So. And then in a smattering of Mega Man in there. I was like, I think Mega Man was always one, like on the original Nintendo. I played a lot of Mega Man 1, 2, and 3. And because of the fact that me and my buddy always hated putting the codes in, we would actually just shut the TV off and let the Nintendo stay on, because we didn't want to put in that giant long code, and then would just come back to it like days later where the Nintendo's still on, the cartridge is still in there, and restart the game and go right back at it.
It's overheating by that point. Yeah. It's on fire.
It's fine. It was like it warmed the place up in the winter, so. And there was also another game that I was very fond of on the Nintendo called Mighty Bomb Jack, that was not a widely known game, but for some reason I have fond memories of it, despite the fact that with as expansive and long of the game as I honestly don't think I ever got past level 10, and I think it's like a 90-some-odd level game. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. And then obviously on the regular Nintendo, I have fond memories of Burger Time.
Burger Time? I think I don't know. We only have like 7 or 8 of these Gamer Origin things so far. And luckily Joe Reed hasn't come on yet. He will be at some point on here. But I think you're the only person besides Kevin freaking Keene, Captain and the Game Master, that I've ever heard anyone mention Burger Time.
Oh, I love me some Burger Time, dude. I used to play the arcade version of Burger Time in the arcades. I love me some Burger Time.
Whoa! What kind of mega world is this?
From the looks of these outfits, I'd say it's Burger Time.
Oh, yuck! I've got egg on my face.
At least you're not in a mega pickle.
Guess who's our chef?
Ready to commence gameplay?
Alright, this is a side question. This is not in with the regular questions, but since we're talking about all these game systems and everything else, and we're talking about Nintendo and all that, let's just stick with the NES.
Mm-hmm.
Mario 1, 2, or 3. If you had to pick one, which one would you pick overall?
Oh, so the issue is I have fond memories of all of them.
Right.
I'm really, really partial to Mario 3. And for me, I think it has a lot to do with the airships and the Koopa Kids and kind of like, as dumb as this is about to sound, I think it was the deepening of the bench of the mythos of essentially the Koopas I found really entertaining in that game.
Yes.
The other thing, specifically that I will point out about Mario 3, is I got to go with a friend to a industry gaming convention because his dad used to actually deal in pinball and arcade machines. And I actually got to play Super Mario 3 6 months before it actually released in the United States.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Was it complete?
It was complete. The full translation to the American version wasn't done.
Right.
But they had it, like Nintendo had a booth there, and they were allowing it because it was essentially a portion of that convention, and I wouldn't even say it's a convention. Back then, they weren't conventions. Essentially, what they were is they were almost like a buyer's convention, where essentially it's a trade show where essentially they want people to kind of come in there and see what's coming out, so they'll buy units to put in their stores and department stores and things like that. That's basically what, I mean, your Comic Cons and your video game cons and your board game cons, those have all kind of evolved out of that old school trade show mentality where everything was set up for basically people that ran these stores that were buyers to come in and kind of, see the new products that are coming out so they could essentially prepay for their units to stock their shelves and things like that. So, but yeah, it was I got to, it was like, that's I have very few like really semi-exciting things, but a lot of them typically involve that family and getting to go to cool stuff like that with them when I was young.
Yeah, very awesome, very awesome. Yeah, you mentioned the deepening of the Koopa mythos with the Koopa kids, and all I can hear in my head, it's not the game I hear. It's Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3. It's that opening theme. That's all I can hear in my head from that cartoon. 1990? Was it 90 or 89, 90 or 91? I forget off the top of my head, but it's one of those years.
It is a legend no one will forget. Everyone thought King Koopa had left the Mushroom Kingdom. And then his doom ship attacked. King Koopa was back with the greatest danger ever known. His Koopa kids. Using their new superpowers, the Super Mario Brothers rescued Princess Toadstool and beat back the evil Koopa family. I'll get those flutters!
Alright, so what was your number one favorite video game as a kid, and what is your number one favorite video game as an adult?
So as a kid, Legend of Zelda Link to the Past is still near and dear to my heart. I spent a lot of time with that game, and I played it over and over and over again, and I never got sick of that game. And that is my favorite childhood game, would be Legend of Zelda Link to the Past on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I am right there with you because that's my Zelda. There's there's no beginning, there's no middle, there's no end to. I understand and I respect the first game for doing what it did and obviously starting the franchise. There's no game past A Link to the Past that I like more than A Link to the Past.
There is a close second for me.
Okay.
And it's Final Fantasy III on Super Nintendo, which would be official numbering is Final Fantasy VI, which I will dig my heels into the ground and still say to this day it is the best Final Fantasy game that has ever been produced in the series. And I will die on that hill. And people that say 7 is the best clearly never played in the original 6, and their opinion is null and void, and I will not hear their argument.
Oh God, absolutely.
So current favorite game.
Yeah, current favorite game.
We'll blow past that. I'm very, very, and for me, it's more of a game series that I'm very partial to. In my current age, I don't get a chance to play a lot of video games, but I like stuff that has very deep world building. And I have been a insane fan of the Fallout franchise for a long time, and that is by far that's my game series. That's always been my game series as an adult. I just enjoy Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76 for the most part, Fallout New Vegas, like those newer versions of the Fallout games, and a lot of it for me it's the world building, it's the mythos, and it's all the a lot of the aesthetics in the world type of a thing that I enjoy. So that's kind of like currently out there. It's hard for me to pick a game in the series just because I love the I love the world.
Yeah. You love the
Yeah.
I mean, that's like that's like asking somebody to pick their favorite Metal Gear Solid game.
That's really easy. It's the first one.
I agree. I do very much 100% agree with that.
Sons of Liberty sucks, and Raiden can jump off.
Hey, now wait a second.
Blah, blah, blah.
I agree that the first one is the best one, but Sons of Liberty wasn't that bad.
Raiden's trash. I'm not a Raiden fan.
Oh my god. Okay. I understand that. I get that, and I respect that. Man, we are going off the cuff here tonight, folks. But that opening scene, though, I remember.
Yeah, the opening scene's great. I played the demo of it when I bought Zone of Enders because it came with Zone of Enders, and I never played. I don't like Zone of Enders either, and I only bought it to play that Sons of Liberty, and knowing that you get to play a snake in the demo, and I could have probably lived with just playing the demo and been done with it.
Mm-hmm.
I played the entire game. I got through the entire thing, regardless. But I digress.
I do like what Guns of the Patriots did as far as getting to go back and getting to relive. That was really like Guns of the Patriots on its own as a new game at that time for, I think it was 3, PlayStation 3 is when that first, or was it 4? I think it was 3. I don't remember. But
it was PlayStation. Yeah,
it was PlayStation 3, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. But yeah, no, I love that game. I love the whole thing of that game. I love the idea of Old Snake. I love how David did the voice for it and everything else. But what I love and really appreciate more is how they got the new gamers in with all of that, but then they get us old heads by hooking us in, and guess what? We're going back to Shadow Moses. I'm like, you bastards. How cool. and they didn't change anything. They didn't try to redo it. They didn't try to remap it. They just left it the way that it was left after the end of the first game. It's
a nostalgia ploy. They just want to make all the fans.
Hey, it doesn't matter, man. It fucking worked. So it doesn't matter. Okay, what are some other video games you like? Do you have a favorite video game genre type?
I like open world adventure. For some reason, and I don't know what it says about me, but I am a basic fetch quest bitch. I love running around just collecting shit for no explicable reason whatsoever. I love to death the Assassin's Creed games, and it's more so just because I was like, oh, there's stuff in the world I could go collect. Ooh, banners. Ooh, feathers. I don't know why, but you set me at a task to go hunt down a bunch of crap that's going to take me 20 hours to do, I'm in. That's my love language with video games. I like exploring it. Well, let me clear that up. I enjoy exploring and going through uniquely designed territories that are interesting to look at. Because I could say the exact same thing about the original Mass Effect, that I loved exploring the planets, but the problem was every third planet looked exactly like one of the other planets, and the variety got a little shit in that game.
Yeah.
In the first one. They did a lot better later in the series, but it's kind of the open world stuff I really enjoyed. When an Assassin's Creed game comes out, and because of the fact that I'm terrible at staying on top of games, so it's one of those, I am usually at least 2 to 3 years behind on any series, especially with Assassin's Creed, with one coming out almost every single year. Yep. I haven't even scratched the surface of Valhalla yet, so that's kind of one of the next ones on my agenda to get through. And then, the new one will be out, and I still got to play the last one that they did too, and I just haven't. It's one of those, I like to take my time with them. I'll put 120 hours into an Assassin's Creed game just because I'll do everything in the world I can, type of a thing.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I like story-based stuff. I don't mind collecting some stuff if I have to collect it, but if it's not required to finish the game,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do it. But I completely get that mentality. I've got a bunch of buddies that kind of do the same thing with collecting and building and do all kinds of weird stuff in the games that they play.
Yeah, and the more like interesting the story is, like yeah, I like my fetch quests and stuff like that, but ultimately what really hooked me in, like especially with like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I love the story. The story was fantastic. Like I really got in to the story and the world building in that one, and just kind of almost probably spent more time playing it than I thought I was going to, just because I was just digging the narrative and the world building and how everything was kind of falling in place with that one. And it's one of those, there's a lot of indie games that I like for those exact same reasons, is if you get a really good narrative and a really good story, even if the game is like with a lot of the indie games where they're only like 6 hours long, they're really short. It was like, if they have a good compelling story to say, interesting art style, I'm in. I love that kind of stuff. So it's one of those, it's one of those when it's two-dimensional, if your characters are hot garbage and everything seems disjointed, and you can have a really cool looking game, but if it doesn't feel like any of the characters you're interacting with have any soul or any, actual effort put into them, then it's not gonna hook me.
Yeah, I get that. I completely get that. The story has to come first. Even in those collect and, run and gun collect games and stuff, you got to have a good story. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting since 2006. I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 4 since 2006, and I did not care. So for me and the listeners, if y'all listen to the sound of my voice, y'all know probably by now, with my cerebral palsy, my entire life, I've played video games one-handed. Whether it was controller, whether it was keyboard and mouse, whatever. When PlayStation went to basically a Xbox One size type controller, I'm like, nope, can't do that anymore. And I never really cared about Xbox stuff, but it is what it is. But so I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 4 for years, and I saw Grand Theft Auto 5 come out, and I'm like, okay. And what I do nowadays is I'll find somebody who's doing a long play run through, whatever, not a run through, but a playthrough. Somebody who's just playing the game normally to do the story or whatever else. And I watched GTA 5, and I'm like, I like the references to all the other games, but I don't give two shits about Michael and Trevor and whoever the hell else. I just didn't care.
Trevor's pretty
excited. Yeah, I mean, Trevor's a better character than Michael, even though they're both kind of evil, horrible characters. But they showed a teaser or something recently in the last, 6 months, maybe longer than that. I don't remember how long ago it was. Maybe it was last year at Well, they don't have E3 anymore. Whatever. They showed a trailer of GTA 6, and I'm like, ooh, interesting. I wonder what they're going to do now. And I hope it's nothing like what they did with 5. I hope it's completely freaking different.
And it's one of those things that I think it's Rockstar does a really good job of, I think, pushing the envelope and really expanding upon what they did previously. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they come up with next. I was like, yeah, for me, GTA 4, it took me, I think I started it the day that it came out. And then I don't think I picked it back up until almost 5 or 6 years later that I finally finished the game. And I still haven't even finished 5, man. I enjoyed the game, but I think we ended up playing, me, Mike, and Joe, I think ended up playing more GTA Online just to screw around with each other and blow stuff up than anything else. So I think that one, the online feature, I think kind of overshadowed the game because of how in-depth, and you could have your own apartment, you could make your own place and have your own car garage and things like that, and then run into your friend's garage when they let you in there and then steal all their cars and mess all their stuff up. So
yeah, GTA Online is essentially the Final Fantasy of Grand Theft Auto, essentially. I mean, they basically turned it into a role-playing game, which, again, I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm saying that's fine. It's a separate thing from the overall game. But the overall game and the overall story of 5, I never cared about it. Never cared whatsoever. So I'm I've been on on the edge of my seat waiting to see what they do with 6 and what video footage we've seen so far. I'm digging it. So
Yeah,
far.
it's Rockstar's fault for making the environment so much fun and the physics so fun to play in, where you just kind of didn't really care about what was going on in the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How did your gaming habits change as you grew up and throughout your life?
Played games a lot did a lot of gaming as a kid. Tons of gaming as a kid. So had time for it, which was funny because of the fact that most of the games that I played as a kid were all more of the less of a time commitment, like a lot more fighting games back then. And then when I then I started kind of getting into the JRPGs and really into the Final Fantasy games. So I more of those long form games. Almost flunked out of my first semester of college because they released Final Fantasy VIII the week before finals week, and not a good combination.
No.
So I almost had to oopsie my first semester at college because of the fact that they had bad timing on Square Enix's part for releasing that the week before finals. So when I got kind of out of college, got more into the online gaming, played a lot of Call of Duty with my circle of friends and got more into, those types of games. And now I'm at a point where I want nothing more than to not socialize with people, and I like my single player open world games that I could just explore and take it at my own pace and not really kind of worry about interacting with people. And it's just, to me, like, now gaming's more of it's a decompress. It's one of those things that, when you've had a long day and you just need something to engage your brain with, but you need it to be as far away from the reality of your life as humanly possible. That's what I enjoy about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Art Danner, my brother from another mother, because holy crap, I hate multiplayer. I do not need multiplayer at all. I need that's why I say story is everything in games. I need a good story. I don't care what kind of game it is. I will try almost anything. Not really, but I stick in my lane, like the Need for Speeds or the Grand Theft Autos or the, that kind of type stuff. But yeah, I'm all about that single player, and I don't care what you're doing with your friends. That's fine. You go ahead, have fun, whatever. I don't care what.
Yeah, what's going to be funny is when I tell you what I spend all my time mostly playing when I do play games is going to be very contradictory to my answer.
That's hilarious. But I very much I've beaten Grand Theft Auto 4 so many times. I don't even I get to the end of that game. I get to that last mission right before you go get Jimmy and go do the helicopter thing. Mm-hmm. I'm good. I'm just going to sit here in the police Hummer and just, run down criminals and get more money than God in a video game that I wish it was actual real money in the real world. Because damn. But yeah, that's absolutely. So question 6 and 7 are kind of similar to each other, but they're not really, because question 7 has a little bit more of a thing at the end of it. But question 6, how often do you go back and replay any of the video games you grew up with?
Not too terribly often, but with that being said, just last week, I fired up the Mega Man collection on my PlayStation 5 and started replaying Mega Man 1 for the first time in 15, 20 years. So which was amazing to me is the fact that I actually got through the Cutsman level and actually beat it right away, which is not typical. I remember how frustrating those games are, and when I got to the, who did I go? I'm trying to remember who I went to after Cutsman. I think I did the electrical guy after that. And that entire level was just, I died so many times. I was so frustrated. So I was like, okay, this feels more normal, like a Mega Man game. I was like, I flew through the first character stage fine, and then I got to the second one, and I just got frustrated. And I was like, there's that feeling. Now I remember what this is like. So I was like, I have a tendency to... I will get hyper fixated when I start a game, and I will play through that if it's achievable to get. So for those that don't know and aren't PlayStation people, you get trophies. If I get a platinum trophy on a game and I complete all the challenges on it, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going back to it. I will never go back to it. If there's DLC that came out for it, I'll play the DLC. But if I get to the point where I've played it enough that I play it to what I view as completion, and I can do it in a single player mode, if there's any trophies that are multiplayer based for a game, I will go, fuck it, I'll get through the story mode and then I'll be done with it, because I was like, if there's multiplayer trophies, I was like, I'm not going online. I'm not going to play those and get those achievements. Screw that. So I will get hyper fixated, and I will literally start something until I finish it and get all the way through it. Is kind of how I do gaming now. And if I was to do that with older games, I think I would go insane, because I don't recall ever beating a game on the Nintendo system ever. So I remember getting close. I remember, very often getting close, but I don't remember ever actually completing a game. So
you never went all the way to the end of Darkland? Come on, man. You never beat Koopa? What?
No, I don't think I have never completed the original Super Mario Brothers. I've never gotten all the way through the game.
Wow. Damn.
And there's a question coming up that will be related to not finishing another game that because I've listened to the previous episodes, I know it's coming. I'll store that one for later.
There you go. Okay. Which video games from your childhood have you replayed as an adult? And see, I don't really like, some of our other hosts on the network like doing this question of which ones held up the best and or worst. I don't like. I look at the stuff in the time it was made, like Mario 3.
Mm-hmm.
You can't compare that to whatever Mario's out now. You just can't, because of technology and time and whatever.
And it's one of those things that, going back and talking about what's held up and what's not held up, I don't think there's any in the innovation of when it first released to when it came now. It all has its place in the history of video games. It all is an art piece within its own time capsule. And I think that you more so, I don't necessarily think there's anything that holds up worse or it feels different, but it's more of a nostalgia pop that goes along with it. To me, it's more about the feelings and emotions of, it takes you back to that, place when you first played that game. For me, I don't think it's about something essentially holding up. I think it's about, does it still invoke a feeling to you? Does it still take you back to a place when you originally played it? Is more what I would get out of it. Because, no offense, Battletoads is still a frustrating piece of shit game from when it was on the Nintendo, and it's still a frustrating piece of shit game now. I hate that speeder bike level, and it will do nothing but evoke the same anxiety that I get in my day-to-day life as an adult. I blame Battletoads for all the anxiety in my life, and that level.
Battletoads sucks.
Battletoads was just designed to send people to get prescription drugs to deal with anxiety. I think it was a conspiracy theory through one of the drug companies that they're just like, how do we super fuck up kids and just make them really socially awkward and give them like heart palpitations when they see a blinking wall coming at them, and how to time it.
Just have them play Battletoads, folks. That's how you screw. Yeah, exactly.
You want to make them play that game.
And out of all of the video games we had to that point, You had a Mario cartoon. You had a Donkey Kong cartoon. Say what you love about Donkey Kong. You had several Sonic cartoons. You had Captain and the Game Master. You had the Zelda cartoon on Fridays with Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Out of all the fucking video games they could have made an animated series out of, fucking Battletoads. Are you kidding me?
Well, I think we only got a Battletoads animated series because of Turtles, honestly, but...
Yeah, probably. Turtles is better anyway.
Yeah.
So, which video games that have released when you have been an adult have you liked the most?
I kind of mentioned the fact that, like, the Fallout games, I really get into those ones. The other franchise that I think I've enjoyed the most has been Mass Effect. I mean, I was excited when the Trilogy Edition came out, and I immediately bought that right up to play it again, because I really dig the Mass Effect games. But I was like, recently, I don't think there's been anything that I've been super psyched or excited about that I've really gotten into. Oh, that's a bald face lie. Baldur's Gate 3.
There you go.
God, that game is just gorgeous. Just fun to play. So awesome. I remember the amount of confusion that the non-PC players had when they announced Baldur's Gate 3 and everybody thought it was another Dark Alliance game. And I was like, oh my god, you guys didn't play Baldur's Gate back on PC? I was like, this is going to be awesome. And it was even better than I thought it could have been. And it's awesome. So, yeah, I probably out of the most recent, like, newer games, I think Baldur's Gate 3 has been the one that I've enjoyed and loved the most, and I feel like I've barely played it, but I was just so impressed with the insane amount of detail and how good the voice acting is, and how just there's so much shit to do in it. It's just fun. I'm really impressed with how well constructed that game is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are there any video games that you hate or you have been greatly disappointed by?
Where do I start? There's been a lot where I don't necessarily think I've been disappointed. It's more so, I think, you get pressured into essentially playing certain games, especially in a social setting where, you get a group of friends, we all hang out online, and they want to play a game, and they're like, hey, you should play this game with us. Every single time somebody's like dragged me along to play a game, I have a very hard time getting into it. And I don't know if it's necessarily the fault of the game itself or the fact that when I walk in there, everybody's like level 30 and I'm starting at 1. And I was like, this kind of sucks. Like, everybody's got weapons and I'm here with a stone.
I threw a rock at him.
Ark, Survival. I have friends that just absolutely love that game. Joe Reed specifically loves creating stuff in that game. He loves the building aspect of it. I find it to be the most boring. Just, there's no point to the game. Like, I don't understand. Nobody could tell me what the story is. Nobody could tell me what the plot is. If I don't know what an objective is or what we're aiming towards, I'm out. Like, I can't just hang out and create stuff and tame dinosaurs for 4.5 hours type of a thing. And that's not fun to me. So it's one of those, like, a lot of the open world MMOs that a lot of people just get into. I have a very hard time connecting with something that doesn't have strong narrative structure or has a goal that we're aiming towards. When it's just like survive in this world and things will happen type of a thing, I'm out. Like, I have a hard time connecting with the game, and also most of the MMOs, like, the controls just don't feel right to me. Everything's really wonky control wise, and I have a hard time getting into it. So I got dragged into Conan Exiles by Mike and Joe, and I got dragged into Ark by Mike and Joe, and I have detested both of them. I did not enjoy a single lick of being in either of those games. It is not my bag. It is nothing against that game genre. It's nothing against those games. I'm just not built for those types of games, and I just have a very hard time getting into those types of games. So I think another one that I'm trying to remember, every single game that I seem to absolutely dislike seems to involve Mike Powers telling me to play it with them. And every single time I get, asked to do something. I was like, it just didn't really look all that. I think it was Evolve.
Yeah,
was the name of the game. It was the game where, yeah. So they were really hyped up on that one. I think they played the beta, and they're like, "You should get that and play that with us." I think we played it like I spent $60 investment to play that game. I think all of 2 times, and I never played it again. So yeah, and it just was like. It's one of those things like all these games try really hard to be Left 4 Dead and they're just not. So
they are Left 4 Dead because no one wants to play dead games.
Yeah. I see what you did.
Yeah.
So you know what? Actually, that was a really long to finally get to a game that I've picked up that I was incredibly disappointed by. Barbie Dress Up Final Fantasy, also known as Final Fantasy X2.
I was like, wait a minute. When did Barbie have a Final Fantasy game?
No. I've always referred to that as Barbie Dress Up Final Fantasy. I was so excited about a sequel to Final Fantasy X, and when Final Fantasy X2 came out, I pre-ordered it. I went and got it the day that it came out, and then I popped it in, and like 1 hour in, I go, as a white male, I feel really weird and dirty playing this game. It's making me feel weird feelings, and I don't know if I like the fact that all of your power sets are attached to changing clothes, and you're playing as a group of 3 girls, and I was like, this is really, like, man, just, I don't know who they designed that game for, but my goodness, it was... That is a game that I think will be ultimately always be the one game I was so excited for and so disappointed by. It was just not what I was expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's too much fun.
No, it wasn't. I mean, Final Fantasy X was kind of crap too, but some people will argue that they like it, and they'll always bring up that stupid sports game in there that they like so much, and it was stupid, and Waka's stupid, and that entire game was just crap. But anyways.
Any others before we move on?
No, yeah, I think that's it. I was like, that's X2 is definitely the pinnacle of disappointing video games to me.
You'll get the chance to choose others later, but who is your end-all, be-all favorite character from any video game? You can pick a hero and a villain.
My favorite villain is Handsome Jack from Borderlands 2. Easily my favorite villain. My favorite hero, I'm very partial to Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series. It has a lot to do with Nolan North and what he breathed into that character, but those games, I enjoy the Uncharted games, but I really enjoy Nathan Drake as a character. I've always enjoyed that character.
Nice. Very cool, very cool. Who are some other video game characters you like? Are there any you hate?
Hate's a very strong word.
Why it's there.
And we've already covered Raiden from Metal Gear as somebody that I'm not very fond of. So as far as characters that I like, I really... Ratchet and Clank. Love both those characters. I've always really enjoyed those games. Those have always been that's been a fun series for me. And those are 2 characters that I've always just really enjoyed. Man, as far as that,
we're putting them on the spot, folks. We're putting them on the spot.
I know you're putting me on the spot. I was like, there's a lot of I was like, I'm trying to think if there's anything like specifically from Fallout of like a character that I really enjoy besides Cogsworth. Cogsworth is quite awesome. I was going to say, hate, I think, is a strong word. I was like, I would say there's more people there's more characters I'm very impartial to, which I feel are characters that are well loved that I just don't have any feelings for. Like Master Chief and Kratos. These characters don't do anything for me. They're just not. Yeah, I was like, I know people really love their Halo and their Master Chief, but just not a series that I've ever really connected with. Hell, I played the crap out of Halo and I didn't even realize there was a single player campaign on that game until 6 years after it was released. 4 years after it was released. Yeah, I didn't even know there was a campaign. We played so much multiplayer on it, didn't even know. Had no idea.
Very cool, very cool. Who are some of your favorite video game voices and or voice actors?
So, I really enjoyed the new Tomb Raider games. So I really liked Camilla Luddington playing Lara Croft. I enjoyed those games. I like Troy Baker, who's Joel in Last of Us, and in so many other things. I mean, Troy Baker and Nolan North, I think, are almost, if one of them's not in a game, the other one is, type of a thing. Like, I love Nolan North as Deadpool in the Deadpool video game they did. He was fantastic in that. I love him as Nathan Drake in the third Uncharted game, or was it the fourth Uncharted game? I think it was the third one. I think it was the fourth one. Where Troy Baker ends up playing his long-lost brother. So Nolan and Troy Baker are in the same game, acting off of each other the entire time, and it's amazing. So good. And then I think it's Ellen McClary? Yeah. Who voices GLaDOS in the Portal games.
Did you ever own anything based on a video game? Toys, comics, that kind of stuff? Statues, if you don't want to call them toys, but statues.
Yes. I'm currently literally looking at a Nuka-Cola Quantum that lights up that's currently sitting next to my desk.
Nice.
So, and a callback to a previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was a subscriber to Nintendo Power. And also, calling back to that episode, I have a correction for you guys.
Oh no. Okay.
You guys made the comment about at GameStop that there was a subscription to a magazine, and you called it Game Pro.
Yeah, sorry.
And it was Game Informer. Speaking as a
former GameStop employee.
Speaking as a former GameStop employee, it was Game Informer. So,
well, I am not going to go back and re-edit that episode to reflect that correction, but I will say, folks, if you listen, which episode was that? I don't remember off the top of my head. But a Game Informer. Sorry.
Yes, Game Informer. You also referred to the gentleman that was the voiceover actor for Destiny that passed away, that was in John Wick. You referred to him as the butler, and he was the concierge at the. Sorry. So there's two corrections in that same episode. I'm just saying. I was not taking notes whatsoever while I was listening.
Liar. He's been listening and taking. He has 16 years of notes to correct me on. I've been podcasting for 16 years. Art has been stalking me for 16 years. Somebody call the police. No, not really.
I was like, does GCRN need a fact checker that just goes back and fact checks all the episodes?
Hell, I mean, we can't pay you anything, but if you want to waste your time.
I was going to say that's a lot of episodes to wade through. It could take a very long time.
Just under 4,000 episodes. You're damn right.
Yeah. I was like, I don't have that much spare time.
I'm surprised I have had that much spare time in the last 16 years to record all this stuff.
Yeah, but it's spread out over time, man. I mean, those things accumulate. And then you also got to remember that, there was a pandemic.
Oh.
where you could just do nothing but sit at home and record episodes.
And people know this. I've said this before, and I said this in this very episode that I play video games one-handed because I have cerebral palsy. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, as of 5 years ago, I guess I should have known this my whole life, but nobody really explained it to me. I was also born with brain damage because I had to have brain surgery 5 years ago. Now, the listeners have already heard this. If you've stalked my Facebook at all, Art, I'm sure you've seen my posts about when I had to have the brain surgery back in 2019 to get the excess fluid off my head. Where the hell was I going with this? I don't see. This is what I'm talking about. Like, oh yeah, the brain damage. So it's like, it's just like, I can't keep track of all this stuff anymore. And yeah, no. Fact check me all you want. Just don't embarrass me. That's all I ask. You can tell me I was wrong about. I can admit when I was wrong about something. That's fine. Yes, he is the concierge. I'm sorry. And and this is, once again, damn you, Booth Ninja. This is all his damn fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's his fault I like the Wick movies, because he was the first one that told me about them.
They're amazing.
No, they are. No, I'm not saying they aren't at all. I still need to watch the fourth one, but I'm not saying they aren't at all. But again, it goes back to the fact that Mike Powers, Booth Ninja 81, whatever you want to call him, he's corrupted us all in
I will say
ways.
the fourth one is really good, but do not look too closely at the first two fight sequences because they are a little sloppy. But besides that, I still enjoy. I mean, not like X versus Sever sloppy fight scenes, but regardless. Anyways.
I don't know anyone in the 15 years of this network and me doing this. I don't know anyone besides me that has probably ever referenced X versus Sever. Oh my God.
I don't think I could burn that memory out of my brain if I wanted to because of how painful it was to watch. It is one of those movies, much like House of the Dead, that will always live in my heart as something truly awful that I have experienced.
We don't have much to go on. Someone's developed a micro device. The perfect assassin. Injectable, lies in wait inside its victim. One touch of a button, you can give a head a state of heart attack.
Two deadly agents.
ID. A former FBI agent named Jeremiah X.
Sworn enemies.
Seven.
Are tracking it down.
We have acquisition located.
Who will find it?
I have a situation and you're my only option. This woman single-handedly took out a heavily armed escort detail. I need you to find her.
Of course you do. My daughter wanted to tell him why you look so sad. I told her it's because you just got beat up by a girl.
And when the rules change...
Positive visual. Take it down.
They find that their enemy is the only one they can trust.
Let's finish this.
There are no innocent people, you know that. Only killers and victims.
She's gonna kill you. All that training. Is that the best you can do?
No, this is.
That is amazingly hilarious. That is awesome. What is your favorite video game theme song?
Once again, this is going to be very contradictory to what I said earlier. I really do say what you will about what I feel about the Halo series and kind of the I don't really connect essentially with the game at its core. But it has a banger of a theme song. I mean, that entire sequence with the choir and the electric guitar and just how it hits, I was like, love it. Also, any of the original, pretty much any of the music from A Link to the Past, like any of the Legend of Zelda soundtrack stuff, I love that. ultimately, when it comes down to it, it is the boss fight music from Super Castlevania 4. I think in the chandelier fighting sequence, that is one of my favorite pieces of video game music. Most all the stuff on if you get a chance to just go down a YouTube rabbit hole and just look up all the soundtrack from Super Castlevania 4 and just listen to it, just banger after banger for MIDI music in that entire game. It is amazing how awesome the music is in that game.
Yeah, an old friend of mine, TV's Mr. Neil, he would get a lot of the MIDI music and a lot of the other music for when we were doing Pixels in the Animation years ago, and he did an amazing job with it and everything else, and I still have all of that, and I still have all of the Zelda music. Oh, yeah, the music in A Link to the Past is just great. I use all those sound effects like any chance I can get.
Well, when we did, I think it was when we did Off the Cuff, I talked to my buddy who did music, and he actually did a remix of a Mega Man song specifically for us for our opening sequence. So he actually went in and mixed it, and I was like, I literally use it as a ringtone on my phone to this day because I just loved it. But he basically did a dubstep version of one of the Mega Man tunes, and it's just awesome. So I was like, I like a lot of that, like the Mega Man music, the Castlevania music, like those older MIDI, and I will say honorable mention goes to one of the greatest pieces of music ever put together, which would be from Portal and the Still Alive song that they did for that one is amazing. I that is on my that is with all the heavy metal music, every once in a while Still Alive just drops in there on rotation in my playlist.
Amazing. Yeah, I have. And Chaos, she always asks me, "What is that? What is that noise?" It's my text. It's my text tone. It's basically the exclamation point from MGS. Like, because I need something to, like, if I'm asleep and she texts me, or if I'm asleep and any kind of message comes in, I need to be able to hear it so I can wake up and pay attention to whatever's happening. And I'm like, yep, I've used that forever. That exclamation mark will live on in infamy. How big or small is your video game collection?
Oh boy. It's gotten a lot smaller. Last year I sold off quite a bit of it at a garage sale because I was really trying to pare down a lot of the stuff I had. So a lot of it's gone. With that being said, there's probably still somewhere in the upwards of 80 to 90 physical copies of games in the house right now.
Cool.
And if you open my digital PlayStation library, it's 700 some odd games in there, maybe more. It's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
I was like, I have a bad habit if something gets down to like really cheap. I was like, I'll play that eventually and just toss it in, because if like something gets down like $5 and I was like, I've always wanted to play that, I'll spend $5 on that. I'll get to it eventually. P.S. I never get to it. But it's in my library.
It's in your library.
Yeah. It's yeah.
We were going through Chaos's library the other night, and she was like, I never play that. I never play that. I never play that. And I'm like, were you ever going to play these? Like, you bought them with the intention of wanting to play them at one point or another.
Well, and what's funny is the fact that I'm totally like I love the digital aspect of games because, number one, I'm old. I'm never going to go to a midnight release for anything ever again. Because I'm going to get home, it's going to have to install, I'm going to be sleepy by the time it even gets installed. I'm not doing it. I was like, I'd rather, if I could pre-buy it, it could pre-download, and then the key's just available to play when it comes, I'm down. Like that, I love that. If I'm at that point in my life, or if I can avoid hanging out in a line and being around people, and getting a digital copy is the way to do it, I will do it. Like, totally, just to not have to go deal with humanity in that aspect.
Telling you, man, it's like we were cut from the same cloth. I don't leave my apartment. If I don't have to, I do not leave my apartment whatsoever.
Well, I was going to say, on the flip side of things, I am, my professional life, I work in sales. I talk to people all day long. I interact with people all day long. And when I get to my kind of me time, I'm just like, my social battery's just fucked. It is done, and I just don't. It's one of those. It's when you're out and you meet somebody new and you got to listen to them, talk to like. I don't do sports. I hate sports. When the moment anybody gets around me and it's another dude and they want to start talking sports, I am playing ping pong in my brain, man. It is just, I'm not tuned in. I don't care. I don't care about your sports ball team and what they're doing. It's not me. It's not something that I'm interested in.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. That is what I like. So it's in my blood. It's always going to be in my blood. But because I'm originally from Massachusetts, I can't not have Boston sports in my blood, whether they're good this year or not. It doesn't matter. For my entire 44 years, Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, Bruins, the four big teams have just been with me all this time. But I get it. I completely get it. Not everybody. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm sure you'd still want to destroy somebody.
I will say on the bright side, my wife has gotten very into hockey in the last couple of years, so we do quite a bit of hockey now. So,
well, hockey is slightly hockey is it's different because yes, it is a sport. Yes, you are trying to get goals and you're trying to defend the other. It is a sport, but it's also, man, it's got some of the most hockey's crowds are like second only rowdiest to wrestling crowds kind of thing. Like you start getting a hockey fight on the, you get two players in a fight in the ice. It's like, yeah, get it. Like the whole damn stadium just like stands up and like pays attention because it's not just, here, let me pass this ball, or here, let me throw. And I'm not saying this I'm not trying to be derogatory to football or baseball, but let me run down this field. Let me round these bases. Oh, it's like running a rat race or NASCAR. They're going to make another left turn. That's all they do is make a left turn. Whatever.
So we do go to a lot of baseball games, but in my opinion, what I like about baseball, I like the ballparks. I like the food.
Yes.
I like the atmosphere. I could care less about the game that's going on. Like I just like the ambiance of a ballpark.
Absolutely.
Pretty much the same thing. Like live sports are different to me. If you're going, it's sitting around and kind of watching it on TV. I'm just like, But also, I'm also the person that will, at the drop of a hat, you're like, oh, there's wrestling in town? Let's go. Like, if there's pro wrestling, I'm down. I immediately, let's go. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, watching the sports on TV versus actually going to an event is like I said, if you're going to, let's just say for shits and giggles, because I'm in I'm a fan of one town and you don't care, but you're in a different town that has also had a rivalry with, like, if it was the Bruins versus the Red Wings, like, of course we're going to want to go. Of course we're going to want to either sit next to each other or across the ice from each other and just scream at each other as they fight or as they do. Yeah, live sports is a wholly different thing. But no, TV sports, like, look, I prefer watching baseball and hockey over basketball and football in general. Basketball is, again, if it's my team, fine, I'll watch them, but you're never going to, unless it's the Super Bowl, you're never going to catch me watching any other team other than the Patriots, regardless of who their quarterback is or isn't anymore. I don't care. We had 20 years. It was a good run. It's fine.
Yeah. Last time I was into basketball, Michael Jordan was still playing. So,
like I said, for me, it's about the team. If the team wins, I know. I think is it Jason Tatum? I couldn't even tell you who the starting lineup on the Celtics is now. I can tell you who the starting lineup in the Celtics was 40 years ago in the 80s. Larry Bird and Danny Ainge and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and all them. But I couldn't tell you who was on what team now for basketball. But then again, NBA Jam was the jam. Bringing it back to video games. Okay, well, that went zoop. Which game or games had the biggest impact on your life?
I'm trying to think of what would... It's one of those, the question's coming type of a thing, but you still don't know how to answer that one. I think it goes back to one of the stories I was saving from earlier. Super Mario 2.
Okay.
Always regarded as one of the kind of more odd ones because, it was another game and it was ported over and they just kind of copy and pasted Mario into it.
Yeah.
Me and my dad both really liked playing that game. I will never forget the day that I know that I think my dad was in between jobs and he was, interviewing and he was unemployed at the time, and how incredibly disappointed and pissed I was because I got home and he was fighting the final boss in Mario 2 and beating the game, which officially meant that he had more time to get better at the game than I did. And for some reason, I was so, to this day, annoyed. Because after seeing that he beat the game before me, I never went back and played the game. because I was so mad he got there before me, and I was just like, so I think it had an impact because of the fact that it was one of those moments for me where I was just like, it really kind of showed to me the similarities between me and my father that I don't think I really noticed before that day. And then kind of seeing that I'm just like, fuck, he's just as big of a nerd as I am. I was like, I'm clearly cut from the same cloth that he is, type of a thing.
There you go.
It's one of those, that is always a memory that I will forever have of him. Will always be that, damn it, he's beating the game that I was trying to beat, and he's doing so much better than I am. And so, yeah, that is always going to be a game that is always going to stick out in my mind, is that.
So the real question here, folks, is which character did he beat the game with when you saw it?
I think he was Toad.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
That's okay. I was a Princess Peach player, so
yeah, exactly. Your ass plays she can fly. Toad can't do shit.
She can float. That's all you need. You just need to float. You can float over those damn birdos.
Yoshi can float.
Yoshi didn't exist at that point in time. That was pre-Yoshi.
Okay, yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying
Yoshi stole the move from Princess Peach. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, then again, she was, in the castle, in the. Oh God, is it the Mario World's the fourth game? God, I can't keep game numbers straight in my head anymore, folks. It's crazy. it's like my brain's because they stopped using numbers. My brain stops at Mario 3, Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, Dr. Mario, this, that, and the other. Heaven forbid they make a Dr. Mario. I don't think they've ever done this. They probably have. I'm probably wrong. You can fact check me if you want. Dr. Mario 2. I don't know if they've ever done that, but oh God.
I think they did the updated version of Dr. Mario, which was on Switch, and that was, man, I don't even remember what they called that one. I don't even know if they called it anything. I think it was just Dr. Mario Online.
Yeah, probably. Dr. Mario Online. Yeah, these pills need telehealth is what they need.
WebMD Dr. Mario.
There you go. Absolutely.
For some reason, every single time I put something in this thing, it keeps telling me I have cancer the entire time.
Let's hope not. That's not good. It's not. WebMD. WebMD was we got this covered before we got this covered was we got, oh God, there was this, that's a discussion for off air. Just remind me afterward. No, seriously, remind me if you can remember ask me about we got this covered after this because holy crap, they ain't got nothing covered, folks. What was the most money you spent on a video game item ever? Video game item could be a print, a comic, a art book, a statue, or whatever.
So I don't know if the most money I've ever spent has been a collectible.
Okay.
related to a video game.
I mean, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Because I'm afraid to find out how much money I have spent on Fortnite skins and content for Fortnite over the better part of the last 5 years.
God.
I'm sure there's a staggering number because every single time, every single time they release a Marvel skin, I feel compelled. So
all right, let me ask you this, because I'm Fortnite illiterate here.
Yes.
You like that game because you like that game, or is that because your kids like the game, or how did that?
Like I said, I'm not a big fan of when I'm relaxing of having kind of that social aspect type of a thing, and so that's why I said some of my answers will probably be a little contradictory to what I said later. So we, as a family, me and my boys, we play Fortnite together. So that's one of the things that I do and hang out with them. So it's kind of like a Saturday, Sunday morning. If we don't have something going on, we'll play for 2 or 3 hours and just hang out together and strategize together and play Fortnite together. Now, with that being said, I was a Fortnite beta player.
Okay.
So when Fortnite got announced at E3 that year, I was 100% all in and wanted to play the game because it looked cool. So me and Mike and Joe, I think, all played Save the World when it came out and played it for a long time, but we never participated in Battle Royale. So we never got into that side of it. And then eventually, when the first Marvel season came out, that was when we started playing Battle Royale, and I've been playing since that very first Marvel season came out. And me and the kids have they play on their Switches, I play on my PS5, and that's just kind of it's our weekend tradition, essentially, that me and the boys hang out and we play Fortnite for a couple hours every single weekend. That's just kind of our time to catch up and socialize, and then basically until my youngest son starts just yelling about all these sweats and how things are unfair. That's usually when I go, nah, and I'm done. So I get about 2 hours until he goes into pure Muppet mode and I can't handle his emotions, and I was like, we need to shut this off because this is getting stressful for me. So
I cannot let you continue on to this pure Muppet. Which Muppet does he go into?
All right. So I have always so my youngest son, Xander, has a heart condition. So he is, because of his heart condition, he looks quite a bit smaller than a lot of the kids his age. So he's a little more compact, but he has big emotions and has the big emotional outbursts that are bigger than the size. So I've always called him a Muppet because, and this is going to get real nerdy, it goes back to the Smile Time episode of Angel.
Yes! Yes! I fucking love them. Sorry to care. I know you're going to want to have him listen to this, and so I'm sorry. I will do my best to bleep it.
Screw that. No, I was hey, you have an expletive on your Apple channel. Every single episode says it's got an expletive tag on it, and I haven't heard any fucking swear words in any of the fucking episodes I've listened to, and I was very disappointed. So
do better. I can point you to other episodes that are not the Game of Origins, but oh my god, you don't know, dude. No one I know ever met. I don't know very many people in my circle that ever For me, and I don't know if you remember this or not about me. For me, it's about the entertainment, it's about the show, it's about the game, it's about the whatever.
Yeah.
I could care, to this day, and I always use this example because it's the easiest example. Unfortunately, it's the easiest example to use. Yes, in real life, Cosby is a monster. That still doesn't mean that at 5 years old, Rudy and Theo and Vanessa, everybody on that show taught me that you use the red bag for houses you know, you use the purple bag for houses you don't know at Halloween. For getting candy. It's about the content of the show. It's not about the people in real life. But oh my god, I love. Oh god, we did we did the comic version of that on the pull bag.
After all, it's smile time.
No, it's not.
time to kick your ass all the way back to hell.
You! I will refer to the Smile Time episode as one of the 42 greatest minutes of television history. I love that episode. Yep. I'm an Angel fan, but that is that is the episode. That is the pinnacle of episodes for me. And there is a line in there about him having an emotional outburst because he has human-sized emotions, but he's in a smaller framework, so they come out like that. So I've always referred to my son as a Muppet because of that episode and because of that line that was in that episode about the big emotions in the little body. And my son actually finally came up to me about a month ago now, because I've been calling him a Muppet for years now. And he looked at me dead in the eyes and he goes, "So what Muppet am I?" And I looked him dead in the eyes without hesitation. I go, "You're Gonzo. You're totally Gonzo."
Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 1. Antonio speaks. In sooth, I know not why I am so sad. It wearies me. You say, Thank you, the great Gonzo!
Oh man, that's hilarious. Yeah, my buddy Jeremy Fine from the Hunnick Outcast podcast, we did Smile Time. We did a comic version of Smile Time on the pull bag. When was this? Oh god. July 1st, 2015.
So one of my greatest regrets in life, and this is a little divergent, but it's relative to the story. Right back on it. Greatest regret in life is I was at a comic book store in Texas for a wedding. And I walked into that store and there was a Smile Time commemorative puppet of Spike in the store. And to this day, I regret not buying that collectible. Because I've never seen it since then, and I may never see it again. But if I ever come across any puppet version of Spike or Angel, I don't care how much it costs, I will find a way to make it work.
Okay, so I don't know if this is official, and we'll get your opinion on this in a moment, but this is a totally separate thing from the video games. But I think, if I remember correctly, with some of the pre-announcements for whatever con it was, they are coming out with a Vampire Spike and a Vampire Angel Funko Pop, where they have the yellow eyes and the teeth are out and the this or I don't know how you feel about Funko. That's fine, whatever. Whether you like them or not, it doesn't matter. But I saw that and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a buy instantly. I'm like, yes.
I was gonna say my Buffy in the white dress and the leather jacket Funko Pop is literally like right off to the side of my my monitor right now.
That's amazing. Oh yeah, that's right. I saw that. We did that before the show, folks. That was hours ago. I don't remember. I barely remember minutes ago, let alone hours.
There was a mini Spider-Gwen in front of it. You would have never seen it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Yeah, I saw that they were doing that, and I'm like, no way. About freaking... Because I think there was only ever one Angel Funko Pop that they ever did. But I saw that, and I'm like, oh my god, yes, they are doing that. That is so cool.
But I know in this world there exist full-size puppet versions.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, if I ever come across one of those, I'm all in. I want him. I want him so bad.
Well, absolutely. That's amazing. Yeah, no, that is so cool. All right. Do you have my parents wouldn't let me play that video game story?
Never a video game. And one thing that I will say is that the one thing that I thought for sure they would shoot me down on, they bought for me, which was Mortal Kombat 2 on Super Nintendo.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, there's no way they're going to go for this. So it was one of those, like, I fully went into that situation. I was like, they're going to shoot me down. And nope, they went for it. So I was like, okay. So no, I was like, there was never a video game where they said no to. They had never had that issue, but it was like, it also came down to the fact I was like, you know, I wasn't, you know, I was a pretty quiet kid. I didn't act out and wasn't a total asshole. Well, at least not until I was a senior in high school. Then I was an asshole. But I was like, no, as far as that type of, as video games goes, no, there's never a thing that they forewarned me about or forbid me from playing or anything like that. They were always pretty cool about stuff.
That is so awesome. What is your opinion on the video game reboots, and which ones do you think have been the most successful?
So, I mean, what is a video game reboot per se? I mean, I see them more as reimaginings type of a thing. And I mean, different people pull different things out of certain games. I was like, it's more of I was like, the only ones that I keep really feeling like it's kind of like a reimagining constantly has always been the Prince of Persia games.
Right.
Where, in my opinion, I've always been more of a console gamer, but there was a lot of PC interactive things. So one of my best friends growing up, he was a PC player, so I did get a lot of time playing PC games. And the Prince of Persia games on PC were amazing. And I was like, the Sands of Time trilogy that they ended up doing on the consoles, it was decent. It was good. But I always felt like the PC series was far superior when they were kind of in that mode of doing those. And then I got the really weird cell shaded one, and now the new one is all side scroller, so it's like back to kind of the original format of what it was when it originally came out. So it's one of those, I don't fault people for kind of, you know, recreating the IPs or breathing new life into old stories. I thought, like, technically speaking of rebooting, they rebooted the Tomb Raider series, and I love the new Tomb Raider games. Really got into the new Tomb Raider games. I thought they did a great job with them, which I know people have different opinions of, but I also thought that the original Tomb Raider games were all hot garbage, but that's me. They were very clunky and very hard to control, and I never really enjoyed the control scheme on them, but I got like the concept of the games where I thought the newer ones were, I mean, more in depth and enjoyable. I have recently watched a YouTube video that kind of ruined that for me, because they talked about that if you just close your eyes and listen to all of the amount of voice acting that Camilla Luddington does with all the heavy breathing in there, it sounds like you're essentially watching porn.
Yeah.
In a different room, and I was like, I never thought about it like that. And I go, oh crap, they're right. And I was like, now I feel real awkward about enjoying those. So, and it's one of those, that's kind of I like it when it works. I mean, some of the reboot stuff, I'll just, like when they do the remastered editions, I was like, if I already played it, I'm not going back to play it over again type of a thing. So it's one of those, I think it has its time and its place, and I think certain things do need to be revamped to fit with the times. Well, not necessarily to fit the times, but to take advantage of kind of the newer technology out there. But yeah, I was like, I don't have any problem with it. But if people are making money off of it and people are being employed by it, I'm all for it. So go for it.
There you go. Go for it. Absolutely. Which video game series from the past would you want to see more of, whether that be a reboot of the game or a live action movie or any other form of media? So this is basically, you want to see what happens after. Well, you wouldn't have seen this because you never beat Mario 3. But, like, the after adventures of the kids at the end of Mario 3, or the further adventures of Nico Bellic and his people in Grand Theft Auto 4, the ones he has left. They all died. Jesus, well, how depressing is that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of downer endings, though, so I like those kind of things.
All Jedi had was a bunch of Muppets.
There's one, and it's one of those. I feel like I'm stealing one of my other friend's answers, but I agree with him. I like the world, and I'm pissed that we haven't gotten more games. I really love the Infamous games, and Mike Powers is the one who got me into them. And that is a world that I would love to see more stuff in. And I know the studio Sucker Punch has kind of moved on to kind of doing other things. But I really dug their approach to kind of the superhero genre games and the fact that they were doing their own thing and that you could play those games and you could decide whether you were the hero or the villain and you could cheat your way through the game to being one or the other type of a thing. And they made it seem like we were going to get more on the PS4 when they brought out Second Son on the PS4, and it just never went anywhere after that. They were just done with it. It's like, come on, guys. They felt like they were building to something with the original antagonist from the PS3 games and the antagonist from the PS4 game eventually coming head to head, and it just never panned out, never went anywhere. So that's one of those game series that I just felt like there was potential, and it just never got there. It was one of those, they had such a good streak of games going, and there just felt like there was more to explore, and it just didn't happen. That's one series that I would love to see more in that series.
Very cool, very cool. Any others?
I mean, I'd like another Mass Effect game that doesn't blow ass, unlike Andromeda, but I mean, you get what you get. So we'll see. I was like, unfortunately, it seems like we got to wait through another Dragon Age game before we're going to see another Mass Effect game. But I'm holding out hope. I was like, Mass Effect is one of those series that I always want more. Just because I just enjoy the world and the feel and the look and the sound and the music. There's just everything's working in that game for me. I just really enjoy it.
Absolutely. All right. Now, I know that, again, Chaos pointed this out to me, but when I say video game sidekick, I don't mean to say that the other main brother of the major Nintendo game is a sidekick. It's just a term. Like, Mario's the hero, damn it. Luigi's also the hero in his own right, but, I mean, come on. When I say video game, like, this question came from the cartoon sidekicks, and we all know T-Bob and Scott from Mask are sidekicks at best. They're worse characters at worst. But anyway, what is your opinion of the video game sidekick? Luigi, Tails, Clank, etc. Love them, hate them, don't care either way.
I love them as like Clank. Love Clank. Mm-hmm. Absolutely adore Clank. Clank's one of my favorite sidekick characters that's ever been in video games. I love a sidekick character when they are either a good part of the narrative or when they are helpful in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's certain games out there that take the sidekick, and the sidekick either gets in the way, is a huge pain in the ass, or takes away from the immersion of the game. Those I don't really appreciate. I just got done... Yeah. I've been playing through the Far Cry games recently, and you can hire a secondary person to essentially join you. And when one of those guys inadvertently walk in and get you noticed when you're trying to raid a enemy camp, and they kind of ruin the entire sneaking into a camp thing, it makes me not want to hire them or have a sidekick in that game because they're screwing up my strategy, and I don't appreciate it. Yep. So if I like a sidekick for comedic relief in the newer games. And it's one of those, all the examples I keep thinking of are mostly come out of PlayStation properties like Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter. Those are the two that I think it's worked really well. Mega Man and Rolly. And like when the sidekick is a support character that adds on, like Tails to Sonic, grabbing him and flying. Like when it's in a support capacity, like a true sidekick would be like Sky High hero support style sidekick. I'm down with that. But if they get in the way, I got no time for them. If they ruin the immersion, no, pass.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Oh, God. I just realized next year is the 20th anniversary of Sky High. Oh, fuck my life, I'm old.
I still want to see that movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's, well, it honestly, unfortunately, sadly, can't happen now. Because they're going to have to recast Josie since Kelly Preston passed away.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. In your opinion, which decade represents the golden era of video games and why? 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, or today in the 2020s?
I'm partial to saying the 90s.
Okay.
And it's more connected for me, but I think it's because of with the 90s, there is more of a hotbed amalgamation of eventually what video gaming became and what it started out as. That kind of lands in the 90s. And I could be very much on the fringe of this opinion, but I have a very strong reason why. So in the 90s is kind of when the hotbed of kind of console activities happening, where we're in the N64, we're in the starting in the Super Nintendo kind of Sega TurboGrafx 16 era, and then going into that N64 PlayStation era in the late 90s, but it was also the point where arcades were still relevant and pinball was still big, and there was still this social aspect of arcades where it wasn't this bullshit Dave and Buster's ticket-oriented horse crap that's out there now, and it was an actual gaming environment for people to get together and go, and I think that's what makes it more that golden age, is because it's that arcade style socialization from the 80s that kind of creeped into that console generation, and then the kind of the birth of kind of the online gaming with like World of Warcraft 2 BattleNet Edition and Unreal Tournament and all those things kind of amalgamating all in that same decade. I really feel like the 90s kind of has that hotbed of what it's evolved into today versus where it was birthed at. Mm-hmm. And I think all of it kind of hits right in there. Now, I'm saying a lot of that because of the fact that my best friend growing up, his dad owned a company in which he supplied all the arcade machines and all the pinball machines to all of the local pizzerias, bowling alleys, whatnot in the east side of Michigan. And every single one of those machines got broken in, and we got to play with every single one of them at their house before they ever went anywhere. I got to learn how to coin up arcade machines. I got to learn how to maintain and do maintenance on pinball machines, on top of having console gaming and all that. So it was like, it was a spoiling of riches of getting hit by every single aspect of everything in video gaming at the exact same time because of who I knew and where I lived, and just by happenstance. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
90s. We'll stick my flag on that. So
there you go. And you mentioned Dave and Buster's, and my only thought is a really, and you probably could throw a quarter literally and hit a really, really bad arcade. I'm like, oh great, Chuck E. Cheese in an actual arcade had a baby, and that was Dave and Buster's, and it was the ugliest baby ever.
So this is a video game related story.
Okay.
And it may be a little bit off topic, but I think it's worth saying. So this friend that I had that I grew up with had all these video games at his place. So when you walked in there, you would literally walk in the front of the house, and there is a Soul Blade arcade machine. If you don't know what Soul Blade is eventually what Soul Calibur became. So Soul Blade was the original arcade version of Soul Calibur. So there was that machine in there. You go into his bedroom, and then he would have his nightstand was a Miss Pac-Man tabletop. So he just had a 2-player side-by-side Miss Pac-Man machine as his nightstand.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So so that's the setup, the story. So when Showbiz Pizza closed down in Ann Arbor, his dad bought the animatronics. All the animatronics. The Showbiz band were in the corner of their basement.
Oh my God.
So every single time we would go downstairs in the basement, the animatronic Showbiz band is in the corner of the basement, And for some god-awful reason, I think he was working to fix them and get them working again, but all the skin was off of them, so it's just robotic skeletons. I shit you not, I don't care what any of these new kids say and any of these young kids talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. I lived that shit, man. That was a terrifying portion of my existence growing up, was 5 showbiz skeletons, robotic skeletons, in the corner of a dark basement, constantly peering out with you, because you know when their fur's off, those giant-ass robotic eyes are just staring at you, and they stare into your soul, and they look right into you. And I wake up in cold sweats to this day. I'm a 43-year-old man, and I still wake up in cold sweats because I'm freaked out about inanimate animatronic skeletons that are in the corner of a room. On top of the fact, he also bought the entryway, because if anybody's been to a showbiz, back in the entryway they used to have the hoofs of all the animals that were animatronic that were dancing. Those were lining where the showbiz band was. So that was my childhood, was growing up and being terrified of going into my friend's basement, which was where the Nintendo was, where the Mega Man game was that we constantly left the Nintendo on in the basement because we didn't want to put the code in. So I'd have to pass by that thing every single time. When I had to go into the basement by myself, terrified. Absolutely terrified. So,
yeah. Five Nights at Freddy's ain't got nothing on that. Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's ain't got nothing on that. That's
I live that shit, man.
That's right. As gaming has evolved, what has been your greatest likes or dislikes in the video game industry?
I remember back in the day when you could pay $60 for a game and you got the whole game.
Yeah.
There wasn't a $30 DLC later with content that's already currently on the disc, but it's just behind a code, essentially, to get later. That annoys me. And in live service games like Justice League, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of live service games. In pay to win games also not a fan of. I'm a big fan of putting your time in the grind. I don't like that somebody can, throw $100 into a game and be leveled up to level 100 and just there. I think
what's the point? What? That's lame. That's dumb. Yeah. That's like, okay, I can understand somebody not wanting to put in like 1,000 hours into it, and I'm using that as a, I'm exaggerating here, but like, I get it. But like, if it takes you just a regular game, Super Mario Brothers, the original from almost 40 years ago now, if that takes you 9.5 hours to finish, that's what it takes you. Even with the warp zones aren't cheating. If you don't want to do those levels, fine. But if you just play through the whole game, fine, whatever. Maybe 9.5, 10 hours. If you use the warps, maybe it'll take you 6 hours. I don't know. Whatever. But like, oh man, pay to win. Oh God.
Yeah.
Why would you waste the money on that and not get the experience of the game? If you like the game and you want to play the game, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's one of those, like, I'm a big fan of the idea of, hey, we're going to roll out a game, but, we're going to release content later, but it's included in the price of the game. Awesome. I think that's cool. That I can live with. It's the whole, but it's one of those things. I may not like it, but I also, every single time an Assassin's Creed game comes out, I totally buy the season pass. So it's one of those, I may not like it, but I still feed the beast and I still participate because, quite frankly, I mean, not like something, but quite frankly, there's certain games I like and I want the DLC and this is just the world we live in now. And it's just kind of how things go. And I've accepted that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but if you buy the season pass, that's an investment, and that I don't know, that to me doesn't sound like you're trying to buy it to win it. Like we're paid it. I don't know, whatever.
Well, and it's one of those things too. If you get to the end of a game and you really enjoyed it and you want more, and there's more content coming out, I get paid more. It was like the first Sony Spider-Man game when they did the DLC for that. I didn't know if I was going to like it, so I wasn't necessarily on board for the DLC at the start, and I loved the game. And then I was like, I'll pay for more of this. This was fun. I enjoyed this, and it was well crafted and well done. But Insomniac is also a, superior studio to most. So
absolutely they are. All right. Some people view video games as something for quote-unquote children and don't view gaming as a serious form of media that adults should consume. Who, in your opinion, should video games be made for?
Video games are for everybody. I find video games to be a art form, a form of expression, just like a painting. I think there are beautiful independent games that have been put out into this world that are just as astounding as a piece of cinema or film, and I don't think it's fair for anybody to drag down a media just because they think that it fits in a box for children. I mean, there's one indie game specifically I'll always go back to, which once again, thanks to Mike Powers, I played, but Gone Home is probably one of the best indie games I think I have ever had the pleasure of playing. And it's not long, it's very eerie, but it's so well crafted and such a beautiful story at the end of it. I think Firewatch is another one of those indie games that also is just another really cool form of the media. I mean, like the Telltale games are like the new version of a choose your own adventure book from back in the day. Like I love kind of the playing in that genre. And I love especially the weirdness of a lot of the independent games. Two staples for weird independent games in my household is from I think it's Young Horses or Wild Horses. It's Young Horses. There's a game called Octodad and Bug Snacks, both from the same studio. Two of the most batshit crazy games ever, but two of the most fun and entertaining games. I mean, Octodad, you're literally an octopus pretending to be a father, and you have an entire family, and the entire game you're just trying to maintain your cover.
Absolutely.
Just walking through a grocery store trying not to cause any attention to yourself as an octopus. Or all aspects of your joystick control a different one of your limbs. So it's very difficult to maneuver. It is beautiful. Beautifully done. Insane game. So
that's amazing. That's awesome. All right, folks, we are now entering the Gamer Fantasy Funland. If you could own any vehicle featured in a video game, which would it be?
The Normandy from Mass Effect.
There you go. If you could live in any video game world that you wanted to live, where would you live?
Fallout? As bad as that sounds, yes, I want to live in a post-apocalyptic wasteland where the entirety of society has fallen apart, but it only fell apart in a 50s post-atomic war universe. I find the world of Fallout to be absolutely fascinating, and I damn the radiation poisoning or being a vault dweller or be damned as a ghoul. I'm in. I want to go. I want to participate. I'm all about it. I want to pay for things with bottle caps. I am all in on that one. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Who would be your top 3 gamer pals to join you and become a quartet? Examples: Mario, Sonic, Solid Snake, etc.
Captain Quark from the Ratchet & Clank games. I believe his name is Sir Dan from Medieval back on the PlayStation. He was a skeleton that was reanimated that was of a knight. So he wears armor and he does not have a lower jaw and he just has one large eye and he's very weird. But I would totally party with that dude. You could tell that dude totally fucks. So and I'm going to say the mysterious stranger from the Fallout series, because you just want a dude that comes in out of nowhere unexplicably and just blows another person's head off to save your life. And I think it'd be dope to just have that guy just miraculously, pop up and save you every once in a while.
That's crazy. That's awesome. All right. I always preface this just in case, but you're not married. You can date any video game character you want. Which one would it be?
Well, that is unfortunately probably a way easier answer than I would care for.
Let me guess. You married your favorite video game character and have children?
No. One of the few video games that have ever made me cry in my life, I had a very emotional connection with, and it is totally Aerith from Final Fantasy VII. Who spoilers if you guys didn't get there on the original one, she dies at the end of disc 1. Or is it the end of disc 2? I don't know, but she dies. She is there's something about the relationship between Aerith and Cloud in that game, and even for as shitty as the graphics were back in the day, it was just very well conveyed emotionally. That when she died, it broke my heart, and I spent literally the rest of the game, like the next 40 hours of that game, holding out hope that for some reason she was coming back. So, as sad as that is, there is an emotional connection with that character for me. And yeah, if there was one, that would probably be the one.
There you go. What is the holy grail of video game artifacts? Examples: the Fire Flower, the Mega Buster, Samus's gun, etc., etc.
Portal gun.
Oh, nice. Very cool. All right, folks, we are now exiting the Gamer Fantasy Funland. What is one piece of advice that you'd give the video game fandom in general?
Life's too short. Just enjoy what you enjoy. Who gives a crap what everybody else thinks? Also, nobody gives a crap about the console wars anymore. Just play your stuff. If you're on Xbox, if you're on PlayStation, nobody cares. I lived through it at GameStop for way too many years. It doesn't matter. In the long run, it just doesn't matter. Like what you like. Love what you love. And if it happens to be one of those creepy dating simulator games, just keep that shit to yourself.
And my first response to that is PC Master Race. And we'll be right back right after this. So, folks, yes, we're going to come back, close the show right after this. You're going to hear some podcast ads, some other stuff. You're also going to hear the Chaos Queen give you all the information of how you can be on the Gamer Origins, and we will be right back.
Hello, geeks and geekettes! Looking for a podcast that covers a vast array of topics? Then check out Altered Geek Unleashed, where we discuss our thoughts on this week's geeky news, tech, gaming, television shows, movies, cartoons, comics, and more. So, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks, every Friday on the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hey Jared, I have this idea for a new show for the network.
What is it?
You know how I liked the 1990s comic book series, The New Warriors?
Yes. Yep.
And you know how at the Long Box Crusade we're trying to get the YouTube channel going?
Yes, also correct.
Well, thanks. So, how about you and me do a live stream show about the New Warriors? You've never read the books before, and I have them, and so that's a great setup. We could give it a catchy name like Come Out to Play. Don't you think that's the greatest idea?
Sure, Delvin. That's a great idea. Just one question.
Yeah?
Why do you have me dangling off this ledge, holding me by only one arm?
Oh, yeah. Well, you'll get it soon. I hope. Come Out to Play, a New Warriors podcast, comes to you live on YouTube every second Tuesday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Longbox Crusade channel. If you can't watch it there, we replay them on the Longbox Crusade Network podcast feed, available anywhere podcasts can be found. We invite you to come along for the ride, or in other words, New Warriors, come out to play.
Hello, everyone. This is JD from the In Session Film Podcast. Each week, we review
the latest from Hollywood, California.
Well, yes, Brendan. We also
give top 3 lists.
Okay, yeah. Thanks again, Brendan. Additionally, you can hear us
talk other movie news, trailers, varying movie series, or other interesting film-related topics, and even rants and raves of the week.
On top of our main show, every Friday,
you can also hear our extra film podcasts.
You can listen to the In Session Film podcast on
iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or at InSessionFilm.com. Listen to the In Session Film podcast every Monday and Friday. Subscribe today and hear me verbally beat JD like a Cherokee drum.
No. That's not how this works, sir.
We brought the entire convention center to the brink of an inter-genre geek war.
Okay, Michael, if we're going to tackle this podcast thing, we've got to do something really special. It has to be cool, daily, in audio form, and undetectable by radar. Something that screams summer. I know, let's do a Phineas and Ferb review podcast. We'll call it the Podcast Organization Without a Cool Acronym, or POWCA for short. What do you think?
I think if we're not careful, Candace is going to bust us.
You can find POWCA on the Geekcast Radio Network, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and all of the other methods you find podcasts.
We'll give you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk...
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing.
Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
Would you like to be on the Origins episodes here at Studio 2009? Send an email to feedback@geekcastradio.com with the subject line Gamer Origins Guest Spot. You must have 1 year or more of podcast experience, have a good mic, and be on Skype or Discord.
Edit point.
We are back, and I would like to thank Mr. Art Danner for taking the time to stop on by the studio and talk about video games with me today, tonight, whenever you find people are listening to this at some point in the future. Any final words, anything you want to say, Art, before I run through our closing?
It was a pleasure to be here, and I was like, if anybody, wants to get a hold of me or talk games or comic books, at Art Danner on TikTok or Art of AV on X.
That's what it is. I forgot. I thought you abandoned it, actually, considering...
I don't go on X often. I do find it to be quite the hellscape lately, so I'm slowly matriculating towards Threads, but I'm still not convinced that I enjoy Threads, but I really don't like X.
I can't. I'm perfectly fine with Facebook, Instagram, and X in that order, and I only really like X is out of the three of them. X is the last one I will go to post something.
Yeah,
I posted a photo earlier today. I put it on Facebook first. I technically could have put it on. Well, no, I did. I put it on Facebook, and Facebook cross promotes to Instagram because it's all meta and whatever. But then after that, I went on to X and I posted it there. X is my third in the line, whereas 15 years ago it would be my first.
Yeah, and I want to like Threads, but unfortunately, it looks like a social media platform that was designed by me when I've had way too many doses of Adderall all stacked on top of each other because it is fucking all over the place. So I'm having a hard time following things, but it's like stream of consciousness on there. It's kind of what Twitter used to be, but for some reason it still seems more disjointed. I don't know. So
I think you can put photos on there now or something, but originally wasn't Threads just supposed to be text-based stuff, just like you said, a stream of consciousness? And I'm like, I don't even check it. Like, I'll see on Instagram, like, oh, somebody on Threads liked your blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, sure, fine, whatever.
Well, and I found out that the way my social media is connected now, so if I post something on Facebook, it automatically shows up on Threads now.
Yep.
So I was like, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you have the option of turning that off, but I'm like, really? It automatically, okay, sure, fine, whatever.
Yeah, but why? Let's see what crazy trouble we can get ourselves into. So
yeah, I know, right? Heaven forbid anyone read a term of service agreement. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I believe this is the final episode in the month of September, even though we're recording this at the end of August. We will have one episode in October, and then we will be taking November off so we can record the final 7 episodes of the year in December. So coming up next, we've got the 25th anniversary of Batman Beyond, because even if Warner Brothers and DC aren't going to celebrate it, I sure as fucking well am. Oh, they haven't done shit. Like, they haven't said, oh, Return of the Joker is going back to the theaters, or oh this, or oh that, or oh whatever.
Well, you know what today is, though, right?
Today, as we're recording this, August 29th, 2024, what am I missing?
Today's Judgment Day, baby. Today's the day that Skynet falls. in canon, in the Terminator series.
I got you. Good thing that franchise begins and ends with that movie.
Yep.
I mean, okay, all right. I may end up having some sort of hater come at me saying, "What do you mean it begins and ends with T2? What about the first? The first Terminator is fine. It's great, but."
It's fine for what the technology was at the time.
Yeah, but like, wasn't that 84? Oh God, that's 40 years. Oh God.
For some reason, I still laugh to this day when I see the original Terminator, that part where Arnold's, like, the exoskeleton pops up in the truck when it's chasing them. And it was just like, oh man, that's so wonky looking. I love it. It's so good.
I saw that they're putting it out on 4K because I'm something you and I and Powers, and I don't know about Joe, but we can all talk about the media upscaling and whatever else if we want to at some point or another. But like,
me and Joe have been talking about the.
Okay.
I told him that I'm coming around on his whole physical copy thing, especially after they screwed up the Aliens movies and went back and pulled the film grain out. So.
Yeah, I've been getting 4K copies of a lot of stuff, and I haven't had a physical media collection, like a real true, like, whole shelf, like the shelves behind me that you saw off air, they're all Funko Pops. My physical media turned into another toy collection. So, but I have Varsity Blues, because that's 25 years old this year. That's on 4K. I've got Batman Mask of the Phantasm on. I've got like a very small collection, but I'm like, if it's on 4K, I'll get it. If it's on anything else, wait.
I got rid of most of my the DVDs. I have a ton of Blu. I haven't got rid of it in the Blu-rays, but there was a few DVDs that I kept just because I knew that a few of them were out of print.
Yeah,
I have Apollo 13 on DVD. Because it was out of print at the time.
Yeah.
I have Man-Thing from Marvel Studios. Which I think was direct to DVD. I think it showed on 2 screens and it went direct to DVD. And it is not good, but it is that's part of what makes it great. I have the Dolph Lundgren Punisher on DVD. And I have The Wizard.
There you go.
So.
Yeah, good old media. We're going to have to talk about some media stuff here on Studio 2009 coming up, folks. But we got a bunch of stuff coming up. Like I said, next time, 25th anniversary of Batman Beyond. After that, I don't know just off the top of my head because I already closed the schedule. So, as always, we want to thank you for joining us here at Studio 2009. If you'd like to get in contact with us to leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send us email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can check us out on any of the podcatching clients you choose to use. I prefer Spotify, but that's just me. You can follow us on Twitter, because I still call it Twitter. I don't care. I like Dave and Craig from the old days, from the old super awesome news, whatever, the Twitter fail, but it's an old video. Anyway, at Geekcast Radio for the network, at ITS Studio 2009, all one word for the show. I am at TF2 and Mike. He is at Art of AV, like he said. You can check us out on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. You can also check out Studio 2009 over there as well. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Studio 2009 and wish you'll join us next time. For now, I am TF2 and Mike with
Art Danner.
Thank you for listening. Until next time. Oh yeah, and unleash the gamer geek in you.
Listen up, you reptiles. The Koopa family meeting will come to order. So far, I've sent you Koopalings to pull sneaky little tricks and medium-sized meanness. Now you're ready for the biggest badness of all.